So first and foremost, I'd like to congratulate you and the Monroe Cheesemakers on being the Game Changers of the Month, presented by Zimbrick and ESPN Madison.
Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely. Everyone's trying to do things to improve their community, and we really appreciate the work that your team and the Monroe Cheesemakers have done. Hi, I'm Alex Gravatt with ESPN Madison. I'm here to present Monroe High School and the Cheesemakers with the Zimbrick Honda's Game Changer of the Month award for raising over $11,000 for cancer research. What started as a way to be more intentional about supporting cancer survivors ended up hitting home for the Monroe Cheesemakers when head coach Toby Golembiewski came down with a cancer diagnosis of his own. But I want to take it back a step before we get there. Last year, you guys won a championship. What made that team different than any year before?
Well, in order to, everyone has good seasons. In order to, I think seal the deal, it requires a little bit of luck. Sometimes you build your own luck with your training. But, you could have the perfect combination of everything, and a couple guys get hurt, and it changes everything. You can have it's not so much the situation that you have, but it's what your opponents that are presented to you also have, and you can get lucky or unlucky in that situation. You come out on a Friday night and it's snowing in the playoffs or it's raining in the playoffs, can really change and make a difference in a game that might have been different if it was in August or September. So there's a lot of luck involved. You got to build your own luck, but then it really has to happen. And that was a remarkable team. And I would say one of the things that all of our really good teams had is we had some really smart boys. I think the average GPA of the bus trip that went up to Camp Randall was like 3.6,
nice.
Grade point average. We had 9 academic all-state seniors, which is the 3.75 or above, a number of 4.0s with some very high ACT scores. So that really makes the teaching and the coaching and the retention of information a much more efficient situation.
Wonderful. It sounds like a good squad, but you mentioned you had 9 all-state or academic honor seniors.
Yeah. So
this team looks really successful so far. It's been excellent. How is the off-season and the loss of those seniors affected this team?
I think we miss those guys, but we definitely had people come in. We're about 95% attendance in our off-season conditioning workouts in the summertime. In the springtime, it's hard to find a high school kid in the weight room after school because they're all participating in other sports. We have several 2- and 3-sport athletes where they're getting experience in other venues. They're learning different roles. They might not be starters there, or they're a starter with a different role, and they're able to learn what the other guys around them on this team have to go through when they're not the starting quarterback, or they're not the starting middle linebacker. Maybe they're just a demonstration team guy, and they can really appreciate everybody on the team's role, and getting those extra experiences are very important, and a lot of our guys take advantage of that.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a full team effort, and I do want to switch gears back a little bit now. The team has raised over $11,000 for cancer research over the last 3 years. How did that conversation start, and how has it continued to grow?
Well, it started out with our student senate. You have that October game where everyone wears pink or whatever, and I've had a number of people in my life affected by cancer, and I noticed years ago when that first started out, when you saw that in on TV, and then kids would just be wearing pink socks and they'd be randomly doing it, and then I have kids show up with pink stuff, and I'm like, well, who are you representing, or are you just trying to be like the guys on TV? And a couple kids didn't have answers. They really were just mimicking what they saw in the pros and college teams, and I said, well, let's really do something about it. It started out by just we were all going to name a person at halftime that was affected, that we knew that was affected by cancer, and then when we've had a very successful fundraising effort every year with selling these coupon cards, and we're like, you can only buy so many sleds, you can only buy so many balls. I said, we need to motivate our buyers and sellers that we're doing something more than just buying football equipment. And we can put this forward to our October game with the Student Senate and come up with an amount of money. We weren't sure how much we were going to be able to do that. The reason it's kind of an odd number is the first year we just thought, well, maybe we'll get 1,000, and then the next year we're like, we really could have did more. So we've now set our goal at 5,000 each time, and there's a potential we might even raise that up going into next year with some of the response that we've been getting from people. People buy that coupon card. Sometimes they don't even take the card when they find out what we're doing with it, in addition to the cancer donation, as well as a scholarship for our seniors who are moving on to more education. They'll give you the money and not even take the card, or they weren't originally going to buy the card, but they'll buy it when they're maybe not football fans, but they're in it for those that part of it, and it really kind of motivated buyers and got our kids as even better sellers. And I think we're going to be able to up that number above $5,000 next fall when we go at it.
That's excellent. And you mentioned the community really buying in, winning a championship for the first time in a long time for a team that's got a lot of championship aspirations and history. How has the community buy-in affected the team this past year and last year?
Well, the community buy-in is great. It's very close knit. Yesterday when we had a team lunch, when we were doing some film work, we were walking around and you saw that all those state championship pictures are around that room. And some of the younger guys didn't really know for sure, but were pointing out this, that's so-and-so's uncle, that's so-and-so. All those coaches over there were on one of those teams. I'm the only one that wasn't. I'm the only one that didn't go to school here and wasn't on these teams. There are a number of guys from last year and still a number of guys this year whose fathers or uncles were on those teams. So the town here likes to win at football. Yeah. And they're still very connected to those state championships back in the 80s. And this was just even though there was a gap in time, this was just an extension of that. And everyone... if you could have seen, just looking across the field and turning and looking at our field, it was like being at a Badger game. We had that big of a crowd on our side. And then to come back and get a parade through town with 16 different pieces of fire and police equipment that drove us around. And we have a big festival here every year in the summer called Cheese Days. When we pulled up on the square, that half looked like a full day of Cheese Days. There were so many people out waving us on and welcoming us back after that win.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it really hits you. It hits you hard on the inside to see that type of support.
Be a part of such a good community. And you mentioned the support. Now, obviously, you've had your own battle with cancer this past couple of year.
Yeah.
And what does it mean that the team is continuing to be intentional about how they go about supporting you and the community? I really people ask about stuff and everyone kind of knows what's going on. When I found out about it, everyone was either in a hockey, a basketball, or wrestling season. I didn't really make a big deal. We didn't have a meeting. I knew they would see me walking around with different apparatuses and probably ask questions and people would figure it out. But I really didn't want to make a big deal about it. But roundabout way, the word got out. And then this last night where we honored Justice for a Cure and with the Student Senate and us, they did a fundraiser for my family and got a lot of support, and it was really, there was a significant dollar amount raised, but even far and above that, just to know you have that support and knowing that there's people at different churches with prayer groups and they'll come up and say, we mentioned you today, we talked about that, and that really does it really helps having that kind of support. And how have the guys helped you? How is being a part of the team and continuing to battle through this season affected your mental health and your well-being?
Well, I knew right away in the winter when I was going through some really bad chemo that we went to watch a spring badger practice, and it was during a blizzard. We had to walk a distance to get to the facility in the blizzard, and I really was just down and tired and everything. When we got there, we stood there and watched the practice for 3.5 hours after walking through something. Like, you know what? It doesn't even feel like, when I'm around football, when we're doing football things or weight room things or out here at practice, or like when we were at that practice or going to games, I forget that anything's even happening. I don't even notice the neuropathy and the some of the health, some of the fatigue and things that are going on. I pay for it a little bit when I get home, but that just means you're going to bed early and maybe sleeping in. But during that time, football is definitely my medicine.
Excellent.
And you got to have that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that the guys appreciate it, as we've got a few standing right over there. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time as you head over. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just thanks to everyone. And you know, I've really been advocating, you know, at a clinic I spoke at. Football coaches in general are kind of more of a machismo type, and the idea of getting a colonoscopy and the stigma that comes with that, you know, I just tell them, whatever you think that's going to be, it's nothing compared to this. And I tell the head coaches, you know, you're going to have guys on your staff, you know, it's 45 now, the checking time, and it wasn't 45 when I was 45, and maybe that would have made a difference. But you know, you got to make sure your guys are, we spend so much time watching film and preparing and taking care of these guys, and they need to take time for themselves. And I've really been advocating all the different screenings that you would have to have, not just, you know, the colorectal, but for everyone involved that has, you know, maybe put that off, or, you know, is nervous about going to the doctor, whatever you think you're afraid of getting the screening is nothing what you're going to go to if you don't find it early enough to have something taken care of. So I'm really pushing for that.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate your time, and congratulations on an excellent season. Best of luck moving forward.
Well, yeah, thank you very much.